brother. What's
Boy,
up?
this is a groovy party, man.
Yeah,
I
brother,
can
like
dig it.
solid. Right on.
Man, what's your name?
Mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, there's far too many of you dying.
Good morning and welcome to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. You can text us at that same number. Good morning to you, Cardi. How you doing, man?
Good morning to you, Earl, man. I'm feeling great, man. It's the last stand today, man.
Well, I'm not, I just want to, this is the way I see it. I'm going to do a regular show. We've said our goodbyes on yesterday. I want to go out doing a regular show, and that's what we're going to do.
Let's do it.
I've got a great guest lined up for you at 9 o'clock. But until then, our phone lines are open at 855-752-4842. There's so many different things that I want to talk about. And it's amazing that I'm running out of time to do it. But one of them is just, the fact that we live in a nation that is so wealthy and yet people suffer and struggle in it. My guest in the second hour is going to be an attorney, Mr. Scott Huras. He's going to join me in studio. And this is a man who's accumulated a modicum of wealth. And as he starts to enter into a different time of his life, he's decided to give most of it away. And so, if there was any guest I wanted to end my show with, it is a man who has accumulated some wealth, but he also understands that money is one part of life. And, instead of hoarding it, he's using it to make a difference in the lives of people. So I'm so excited about having attorney Scott Huras on at the 9 o'clock hour. But until then, parents are so desperate to get their children mental health care, they're giving up custody.
Oh, wow.
So I have a son. My oldest son is bipolar and schizophrenic. And so I've told the story. He was a 3.5 student at the university. And out of the clear blue, he started showing signs of mental illness. We had never seen any signs of that at all. There was nothing that showed me that he had any proclivities to mental illness. So at about the age of 20 years old, again, 3.5 student, things started manifesting in him. And so we went down this journey over the last, 20 years or so, in watching him deteriorate to the degree that there was just not a whole lot of support and effort. It wasn't because of a lack of effort. We turned over every stone to try to find help for him. But we live in a society that stress and pressure and other things are really driving and causing more mental illness than I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. Or maybe it's always been there and it's just being diagnosed more today than it ever was before. But I was looking at this article and the title of it: Parents are so desperate to get their children mental health care, they're giving up custody.
That's
The
insane.
severity of youth mental health needs intensified after COVID-19 pandemic with more children exhibiting extreme behaviors. You know, I noticed some of that in children in my 12 years that I spent in Milwaukee Public Schools. You could see mental illness manifesting itself in children at very young ages. And yet we have a society that can't deal with the mental illnesses that the population is suffering through, and those numbers just keep increasing. Let me read a couple of paragraphs, and then I'm going to go to the phone lines. Nina Richmond was desperate. Over the summer, the 43-year-old mother had exhausted every avenue to find her teenage son the mental health care he badly needed as his behavior spiraled to an alarming and dangerous level. The breaking point came as he began starting fires in the Des Moines home. And Richmond couldn't help keep himself from smuggling in more materials to burn. Faced with impossible choices, Richmond said she chose the best of bad options. She gave up her custody of her son to the state. It was incredibly hard to admit to myself that I was at the end of the road, that I could not do any more as one parent trying to help him. Richmond said, I was just at the point where I could not do any more. There wasn't anything else to do there. We just tried everything. Richmond is among a rising number of parents and guardians who have relinquished custody of their children to the state in recent years as a last-ditch way to seek out additional behavioral health services, according to top officials at the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services. Like Richmond, those families feel they had little choice. Iowa's disjointed and underfunded system lacks a clear path to obtaining care for many troubled children. This is, without question, one of those things that our nation is going to have to face either now or later. The height of mental illness, the fact that mental illness is pervasive in our nation, the fact that there aren't enough psychologists and psychiatrists to deal with the mental illness. This was right around Christmas in the city of Milwaukee. There was a young man, 24 years old, who was trying to seek some mental help. And of course, he's 24 years old. He has no insurance. There's no way that anyone, that he can get help. His family went to everybody they could to try to find help for this young man. Couldn't find any. The next day, he's walking down the street with an automatic rifle, and he's discharging it up in the air. The police come, and they tell him, put the weapon down. Of course, he's having this episode. And so he fired at a police officer, struck one, and he wound up, being killed. 24 years old, he went to get some help, military veteran. He tried to get some help, but there was none available. So what is our nation going to do? This is something that is pervasive throughout rural America, throughout every aspect of this nation and the world. But our nation just doesn't seem to be able to handle it. 855-752-4842. And everybody knows somebody who has mental illness, and maybe, it hasn't been diagnosed yet, but it is pervasive in our society and something that has to be addressed. Let's go to Jim from Brookfield. Good morning to you, Jim. You say what?
I say here we are in 2025, and we are in the dark ages in regards to treating and recognizing mental illness. It's a very serious issue that this country and society has just kind of ignored and tried to pigeonhole and just shuffle off or ignore people that need help. And I'm an older gentleman. I have two daughters in my 20s, in their 20s rather. And I'm hoping by the time they're my age or in decades to come that society will change and realize that we're all wired different. Everybody is wired differently and has issues physically, but also mentally, and mentally as much as physically. And just as you said, Earl, we need more professional help, psychiatrists, even drug therapy, whatever types of therapy. But and it all starts with DEI, recognizing that people are different. So unfortunately, we're going in the wrong direction. But I really hope by the time my girls are, full-grown adults, that society recognizes the issue and addresses it. We've had war on drugs, we've had, gun control, whatever, but we need a war on mental health to really, recognize and address the issue.
Jim, man, the thing about this that's so telling to me is they keep talking about people walking into schools and shooting up schools. The person that walks into a school with a weapon and shoots up the school is mentally ill. Hey, okay?
Yeah.
A person that's not mentally ill doesn't do that, right? So we've got all of this happening, and yet at a time when we want to cut resources to mental health, right? I mean, I don't, Jim, I'm not, I'm only a lowly talk show host. I don't get any of those things, man. I really don't. Hey, man, thank you very much.
I just want to
go ahead quickly.
Real quick, instead of blaming the people for the gun, the shooting, do something about it. Address mental health rather than blame them. Do something about it.
Hey, well said, Jim. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch soon. 855-752-4842. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show.
We've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Yeah. Father, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. We've got to find a way to bring some love in here. here. I'm pleased, I really dig your company. Your style, your smile, your peace mentality. Lord, have mercy on me. I was blind, now I can see what a king's supposed to be. Baby, I feel free. Come on and go with me. Let's take a long walk around the park after dark. Find a spot for us to spark conversation, verbal elation, stimulation. Share our situation, temptation, education, relaxation, elevation. Maybe we can talk about Surah 31:18.
All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Cardi is handling the music this morning. So let me do this. Let me read a couple text messages, and then we'll go back to the phone lines. We're talking about mental illness and mental health, and as I stated, I've got a son who has been battling with bipolar and schizophrenia for the better part of 23, 24 years. He's still here. His life has been turned inside out and upside down, and so has mine. But I'm thankful that I was able to, get him the help that he needed. At his lowest point, my son was walking in the street, walking into traffic, and just was a horrific. I had already prepared myself for, his death, because there just didn't appear to be any way that we were going to get out of that. And I know I'm not alone. So 855-752-4842. So Tony says, in our drive for efficiency, we have driven out empathy. And so, when you think about what people are going through, you never know. And this is pervasive in our society, and people need to start addressing it. CJ, man, you're up. You say what?
Morning, Earl. Thank you for taking my call. That gentleman that you were talking about running around with a gun, faith-based organizations, Catholic social counseling. So I think some of the increase in mental health has to do with the breakdown of the family and the lack of people looking to the church and touching with their faith. I think the evidence, for people, certainly it's becoming more pervasive all the time, struggling with issues. And, right now I don't know if you're aware, there's a Supreme Court. They're going to hear a case today on kids and what they're facing in schools. And so the lack of direction by parents and schools for these kids has been made cloudy by some of the stuff that we found out they were being taught during COVID. And
so CJ,
it's a very important Supreme Court case today, and it's for parents.
So CJ,
So
let CJ, let me say, when you make a statement that mental illness is predicated on what children are being taught, it goes to show, man, that you really don't know what you're talking about. Mental illness is not taught. It doesn't come from anything that somebody teaches you. I know I have a PhD in it. My son has been, and I've been grappling with it for over 24 years. So, clearly that statement, CJ, it has nothing to do with what somebody's taught. You can't teach people to be mentally ill.
I disagree.
Well, okay.
Have you ever heard of borderline personality disorder?
Hey, CJ, thank you very much for the call. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the call. Hey, Mary, how you doing?
Morning, Earl. Thanks for your address of this. And, family support is 105% of these people that are afflicted with mental illness. It really has a biochemical basis.
I mean, you just heard him say it's taught, right? Ignorance, but go ahead.
So I'm like you, I'm a family veteran dealing with lacking psychiatric treatment in our society. And this news about releasing custody to the state of one's child, I think it reflects the failure of the system to support families in accessing psych treatment. In my family experience after decades, I believe that the system supports a person's right to be ill rather than a right to treatment, because it requires the person to be dangerous to access psychiatric treatment. And in the medical world, if a person has a need, the hospital door is open, but not so with people with mental illness. They have to be dangerous, and that, not good. So given, lastly, given, your new chapter, I wish you the best going forward, and thanks for all you've done for
Mary. Hey, Mary, let me tell you, one of the things that I'm going to do a podcast on is mental illness, because as you stated, people who don't know right now, the only way a person can get help for being mentally ill by the system is to exhibit that they're a danger to themselves and others. And to be able to have to prove that is almost impossible. And so that way the society can wipe his hands, Mary, of the issue, right?
Yeah, it's really a family nightmare, and we need some help. We need things to change. Thanks for your address.
Hey, Mary, thank you very much. I'm going to do a podcast on it. You can rest assured of that, because there are people like CJ who don't understand. They think they know. You can't know everything, man. You know nothing about mental illness. 855-752-4842 is the number. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show. We're going to talk about this on the other side. Hang on.
Let's go.
Relaxation, elevation. Maybe we could talk about Revelations 3:17. Or maybe we could see a movie, or maybe we could see a play on Saturday. Or maybe we could read and feel the trees and listen to a symphony. Or maybe chill and just be. Or maybe we could take a cruise and listen to the roots. Or maybe eat some passion fruit. Or maybe cry to the blues. Or maybe we could just be silent. Come on, let's take a long walk around the park after dark. Find a spot for us to spark conversation, verbalization, stimulation. Say our situation, temptation, education, relaxation, elevation. Maybe we can talk about something entirely. Or maybe we can see a movie, or maybe we can see a play on Saturday. Or maybe we can feel the breeze, listen to a second sheet. Or maybe we can chill and just breathe. Maybe we can take a cruise and do some, maybe eat some passion fruit, or maybe food, or maybe ride to the blue. Or maybe we could just be silent. Come on, let's take a long walk around the park after dark. Find a spot for us to spark conversation, verbalization, stimulation. Let our situation, temptation, education, relaxation,
Last night, pre-flight, 0 hour, 9 a.m. And I'm gonna be high as a kite by then. I miss the earth so much, I miss my wife. It's lonely out in space on such a timeless flight. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh no, 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 I'm a rocket man, burning out the fuse out very long. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh no, 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 I'm a rocket man, burning out the fuse out very long. Mars ain't the kind of place to raise your kids. In fact, it's cold as hell, and there's no one there to raise them if you did. And all the science I don't understand, it's just my job 5 days a week. A rocket man, a rocket man. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again.
Big wheels keep on turning, carrying me home to see my kin, singing songs about the Southland. I miss Alabama once again, and I think it's the singing. Yes. Well, I heard Mr. Young sing about her. Well, I heard O'Neill put it down. Well, I hope Neil Young will remember. I said that man don't need him around anyhow. Sweet home Alabama, where the skies are blue. Sweet home Alabama, Lord, I'm coming home to you. In Birmingham, they love to go now. Ooh, 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 now we all did what we could do. Now Watergate does not bother me. Does your conscience bother you? Tell the truth. Sweet home Alabama, Where the skies are blue. Sweet home Alabama. Right, I'm coming home to you. Here I come. Alabama. Now muscle shows has got the swampers. And they've been known the song too. Lord, they get me off so much. They pick me up when I'm feeling blue. And now about you. Sweet home Alabama. Where the skies are blue. Sweet home Alabama. Lord, I'm coming home to you. Sweet home Alabama. Oh, sweet home. Where the skies are blue and the dumb is true. Sweet home Alabama. Lord, I'm coming home to you.
All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. You can text us at that same number. Talking about mental health, mental illness, as Tony, as a community, we need to address these issues. It's not something to pass off to churches because you don't want to fund it. And again, if you're just joining us, I'm talking about, mental illness that is pervasive inside of this society, and the ignorance, and where people really don't understand, and so unless you have had to deal with this, I think when people like CJ makes statements that he knows nothing about, it's part of the reason why we are struggling in a society where mothers who are struggling, it starts in the family. Everything starts in the family. If the family could do better, there wouldn't be any mental illness. Well, that's not the case. And so unless we, get a grip on this, I don't care. This is not Democrat or Republican, man. This has nothing to do with either one of those. There are people who claim to be Republicans who have mental illness pervasive in their families. There are people who are Democrats who have mental illness pervasive in their families. There are blacks, there are whites, there are Christians, there are Muslims. There are rich, there are poor. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what nation you're from. Let's go to Tom from LA. Good morning to you, Tom. You say what?
Good morning, Earl. First, we the people ultimately are the government, and we must get money completely out of politics. I think the problem is in this country really have come to a point where it's profits over people. Everyone kind of lives for the next quarter. I think in terms of mental illness, the whole country has some mental illness. But I think also another part of mental illness is this billionaire class that seem to have this hoarding issue. It's almost like they think they're going to lose it or something. And I don't understand that. And that's something I'll be really interested with your guest coming up. How did he come to the realization that, maybe being a multimillionaire, he had enough? But I think even the fact that people don't think they have enough when they have $1 billion, that's a sign of mental illness as well. And
yeah, I just think that, with corporations, they say the purpose of a corporation is to make a profit. Wouldn't it be something if the purpose of a corporation was to help your employees, to be the best that they can be and all of that, and then profit would just be an end result of actually treating people right? You talked about empathy, a couple of weeks ago and how that's lacking. I'm sure that anybody that's poor, anybody that was born into not the Lucky Sperm Club, would love to switch places with other people, whether that's people that are mentally ill, whether that's people that have had the opportunity to have a successful life. I'm sure they would love to switch places with you. You're just lucky you got lucky.
Hey, Tom, thank you very much for the call. Thank you very much for that information. In Iowa, state officials are ramping up efforts to divert families from this drastic pathway. But given the severity of some of the mental health conditions, they say they are struggling to meet these children's needs. We are hard-pressed right now to find concrete long-term solutions, and I don't think a state has it. I think we're in a much better space than most states are, but as a nation, we are really struggling with this particular issue, especially with youth, said Iowa HHS Director Kelly Garcia. It was not a decision I took lightly. Richmond adopted her son and his older brother from foster care when they were 2 and 3 years old, respectively. She requested any identifying information about them remain anonymous. Her youngest, who was later diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder and an intellectual disability, first began stealing and exhibiting other impulse behaviors in the 3rd grade. Here's a woman who took 2 children in, foster children, and so did a very commendable thing. And for all of those years, and she can't get any help. I mean, it's just an untenable situation, unacceptable. And I don't know, if a society such as ours, and especially where the society is now, is going to be able to fix this problem. As those habits became more frequent, Richmond says she took them to every type of therapy, including mental health, speech, and occupational therapists. He had special education support at school since age 3 and has had multiple stays at crisis stabilization programs. Really, anything and everything that I could get access to, we tried it, Richmond said. There are a fair number of services that just don't really exist, particularly speaking, so I can't say we tried everything, but we tried everything that was available. So here's a part of this whole mental illness aspect that people don't know anything about. As my son was grappling 5 years ago or so, 4 years ago, at the age of 40, and stopped taking his medication and began living in the street and walking in that. So in the city of Milwaukee, at one point in time, they had over 2,000 beds for people with mental illnesses at Milwaukee County Mental Health Complex. They've since gotten rid of those beds. And now, in probably at best, there's 50, from 2,000 to 50. And so people with mental illness are moving around our community and with no support whatsoever. And so, eating out of garbage cans and walking in the streets with cups, stopping people who are driving down the street and down these roads with a cup in their hand. That was my son. And so I remember saying to Milwaukee County, listen, my son is in bad shape. He stopped taking his medication. And they said to me, well, you know what, Mr. Ingram, your son has a constitutional right to decide whether or not he wants to take medication. He has a constitutional right to that. This is what the Milwaukee County said to me. And so I challenged them. I said, let me see if I have this right. My son, who was court-ordered medicated early on when the diagnosis came through, the court ordered him medicated. And so for all those years, he was court-ordered medicated. But then a decision was made at the court level that people who had been court-ordered medicated now all of a sudden have a constitutional right to say, I don't want to take the medication. and it just so happened to coincide with them doing away with 2,000 beds. Come on, man. Who you talking to? I'm just a guy with a high school diploma, but I got a lot of common sense. And so you're not going to tell me that now all of a sudden he doesn't have to take medication. It's his choice. When all those decades before, the court had decided that people who were a danger had to be court-ordered medicated. So I was able to push that narrative for my son. Okay, and so my son is now in a safe place. But I tried to fight that battle for everybody because it didn't make any sense to me.
All right.
But I, some battles you just can't win. 855-752-4842 is the number. We're talking about mental illness and the fact that it's just become more pervasive. And if this society does not address this at the right time, now, long after I'm gone, I don't know how they're going to be able to address this. 855-752-4842. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show.
Now muscle shows has got the swamp buzz. And they've been known the song too. Lord, they get me off so much. They pick me up when I'm feeling blue, and now about you. Sweet home Alabama, where the skies are blue. Sweet home Alabama, Lord, I'm coming home to you. Sweet home Alabama, oh sweet home, where the skies are blue and the dumb is true. Sweet home Alabama, Lord, I'm coming home to you. Yeah, yeah. Dollars got that.
Because pick your afro, daddy, because it's flat on one side. Well, if you don't pick your afro,
And remember, you do all your chores before you go anywhere.
one side high.
All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Text us at that same number. Let's go to Brian. Good morning to you, Brian. You say what?
Good morning. Yeah, just want to, let the listeners know out there, as a patient, myself dealing with, mental health issues my whole life, there's no shame in getting help and reaching out to family, friends, calling into a, crisis hotline, going on medication. I mean, I was even ashamed, to go on medication myself. And I was on and off medication for years. And finally it came to the point where it's like, no, I need the treatment, Um, and it does make a difference. There's people out there that are willing to listen to you, and you are loved. And, as you stated with your, son, parents will do whatever they can to help their, their child. And the same applied with my parents. I knew something wasn't right at a young age. I knew I wasn't feeling well, and they got me the help and treatment I needed. So yeah, I think we really need to take mental health quite seriously in this country, and that's all I'm going to say.
Well, Brian, the problem is we're not taking it seriously.
Casting, yeah, exactly.
Okay, and so
Right.
that's what's at the root of it. We're not taking it seriously, and I don't care who it is, right? I remember
Right.
the Kennedy family, former President John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy. Their sister spent her entire adult life in a mental institution in Wisconsin, and these were the wealthy Kennedys. And so,
Right.
this is not new, man. Nobody escapes it. And so
Exactly.
our society has to take it more seriously. I'm telling you straight up, man, they're spending $1 trillion on the military budget every year and saying we can't afford things has to stop, right? I mean,
Right.
and the worst part about it is we as the citizens, we can't make it happen. We can't stop it. Hey, Brian, thank you very much for what it is. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you, man, for being so courageous to speak the truth. We need more of that. I really appreciate it. But that's what this is all about, man. That's what it's all about. And it's what I've always, done with my platform on the airways, is to talk about these kinds of issues because they're critically important, man. And not enough people are talking about these things. We can talk about a whole, plethora of other things, but the everyday issues that the American people face, we don't have enough conversations about them in the public. And I'll say this last thing for this poor woman. In her struggles, however, the top state, listen to this, the top state health officials, this is in Iowa, have said publicly that the portion of those youth entering foster care solely because the parents are no longer equipped to take care of behavioral health needs at home has been on the rise. And I'd also say many of the people who are in jail are mentally ill. We lock up mentally ill people in jails. there was another in my earlier life. We didn't lock them up in jails. We separated people with mental illness from people who didn't have it. But today in our society, we lock people up with mental illnesses. I remember a time that my son was picked up on the street, and he didn't commit any serious crime. He, didn't rob anybody, didn't shoot anybody, didn't stab anybody, didn't break any windows. They just said his behavior was, and my son is not a big guy. He probably weighs about 140 pounds. So I don't know who could have been afraid of him, but he wound up in jail. And I wound up calling the jail and going there and saying, hey, my son takes medication, and they say, well, we can't give him any medication in here. And I'm saying, okay, so what happens? He's on medication daily for psychosis. Well, he's in jail. We can't do anything about it. I mean, these are the kinds of things.
And that's how they deal with them. They put them in jail.
I know, but see,
instead of giving them the help.
No, they're not getting help. And,
no, I said instead of giving them the help, they jail them.
Oh, yeah. So these are the kind of, and that's why I'm going to do a podcast on it, right? It's one of the things that certainly the podcast is going to afford me to spend some real time in addressing that issue. So I'm, excited. And yes, PJ, you are absolutely right. It was Ronald Reagan who chose to close all of the mental health hospitals. Just the truth. Don't have to take our word for it. Check it out. Up next, attorney Scott Huras and my good friend Doc Weed, as we discuss a man who really gets it, who really understands it. I'm excited about having him as my last guest on the Earl Ingram Show.
Strumming my pain with his finger. One time. Singing my life with his words. 2 times. Killing me softly with this song. Killing me softly with this song. Telling my whole life with his words. Killing me softly with his song. I felt all flushed with fever, embarrassed by the crowd. I felt he found my letters and read each one out loud. I prayed that he would finish, but he just kept right on, strumming my pain with his finger, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly.
Isn't it rich? Are we a pair? Me here at last on the ground, you in midair. Send in the clowns. Isn't it bliss? Don't you approve? One who keeps tearing around, one who can't move. Where are the clowns? Send in the clowns. Just when I'd stopped opening doors, finally knowing the one that I wanted was yours, making my entrance again with my usual flair, sure of my lines, no one is there. Don't you love a farce? My fault, I fear. I thought that you'd want what I want. Sorry, my dear. But where are the clowns? Send in the clowns. Don't bother, they're here. Isn't it rich? Isn't it queer? Losing my timing this late in my career. Where are the clowns? There are.
Strumming my pain with Pick Your Afro Daddy.
Rock Brooklyn kids, us floor rush when they DJ booming classics. You dig the crew on the fattest hip hop record. He tucks the kinks and sinks into the sounds. She
to pay the rent, to pay our share. The time has come. A fact's a fact. It belongs to them. Let's give it back. How can we dance when
All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. And I'll say this, the best times I've ever had on radio is having guests and stories like the one we're getting ready to have now. And so with that backdrop, I am honored and privileged to have Mr. Attorney Scott Huras in the studio this morning. Good morning to you, Attorney Huras. How are you?
Thanks, Earl. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. And who is that yahoo you have to your left?
Well, this guy is the guy known as the good doctor.
I know who he is, man. That's my good friend, Doc Weed. Good morning to you, Doc. How you doing, man?
Good morning, brother. I'm doing well, and thank you very much for the invite.
Well, man, Doc, you and I go way back.
Yeah.
And so we are truly throwbacks in the city.
Yep.
We're a couple of guys born in the city of Milwaukee who haven't left,
yep,
and who still connect with a bunch of old goats like us.
Yep.
And it's the time has traveled so fast to be able to still see guys like you and the other guys that get together couple times a month is just,
it's a blessing.
It is, man. It's a blessing for the heart. So welcome. But Attorney Huras, I met you.
Yes.
Through Doc. And but before we get into all of that, tell us a little bit about you, sir.
Oh, I'm of a certain age, 73 years old, and I've grown up in Wisconsin my whole life. Milwaukee as a boy, lived on Fond du Lac Avenue, North 19th Place in Glendale. 26th in Meineke, went to Clark Street School. Love Milwaukee, and now I live in way north in Oshkosh, up north, Yeah.
Well, you tell us a little bit about your childhood.
My childhood was wonderful. My dad's a factory worker. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She never even graduated from high school. But they were great parents. And Dad kept moving from factory job to factory job. There were recessions, layoffs. None of those corporations are here anymore.
Right.
Started with Globe Union. People don't even know about that.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
Then went to American Motors.
I know my father worked at American Motors.
He needed to buy a Rambler in order to park in the company parking lot.
The Ramblers.
Yeah, it was a beautiful car.
Yeah, Ramblers.
And then he ended up at Harnischweger, which still exists, but it's part of a Japanese conglomerate. So Dad was a factory worker. Mom was a homemaker. They were loving parents. And ultimately, we ended up moving to Greenfield and went to high school at Greenfield. And that's where I met Doc. We were on the freshman basketball team together.
Before I go to Doc, I keep telling people about how beautiful our childhoods were.
Absolutely.
And so my father as well was a blue collar worker, and my mother stayed home, and it was the way things were. She was able to stay home and raise 13 children while my father worked at American Motors and A.O. Smith. That wasn't uncommon at that point in time. The people
13 children was uncommon.
Oh, yeah. Well, people were able to live middle-class lifestyles without high school diplomas. And it was a good time. So Doc, your story?
Well, Scott and I reconnected a few years back at a high school reunion, and just found out that he was a progressive like myself, and we had a lot of things in common in that regard. So, of course, conversation got around to you and Civic Radio.
But I have to ask you first before you go any further.
Mhm.
High school reunion, what was it, the 75th year?
Yeah, something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
Numbers.
It's not a reunion.
No, I'm only joking, man. Go
Our
ahead.
class meets at a bar once a year on a certain weekend, and that's what it was.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, the 60s, as you know, were very tumultuous and,
oh.
you know, lots of things going on. And, you know, when you see both Kennedys being assassinated, Medgar, Martin, Malcolm, you grow up and as a teenager, those are your most formative years anyway. And you see those kinds of things happening. You wonder yourself, what the hell kind of country am I living in? You know, so, you know,
We're still wondering that.
yeah. Yeah. So, you know, as things turned out, I ended up going into the Marine Corps because I thought, well, I don't know. I just didn't see really any hope for me. School wasn't my thing. So, you know, got shipped halfway around the world, and it's something that was tough. It was hard. But, you know, I made it, survived it, and came out and I did the, you know, Alice Chalmers for a while. And of course, that went away. Then my next job was Roundy's. I was a supervisor there for several years. And then I ended up at Falk. So retired from Falk.
So you know, Scott, you wound up, how did you wind up becoming an attorney?
Well, you know, when I went to college, I had a great time. I loved college. In high school, I was a debater.
Okay.
And unlike today, we were actually funded by a bank and we got to go all across the country. So I knew I had the ability to do that.
You knew you had the chops.
Mhm.
Yeah, but to be honest, when college ended, I wanted the party to keep going. So
Yeah.
I thought, I'll go to law school. And then I got to law school and everybody's studying like 80 hours a week.
Right.
And I went, what have I gotten myself into? But I buckled down and did good.
So you spent your life, most of your adult life after college as an attorney?
Yes. I worked my entire adult life for an insurance company in Appleton. And I was an attorney for them. Started at the, you know, bottom of the barrel. I was the youngster. I would get all the crummy cases and stuff. I would actually go out and try cases. And eventually worked my way up to one of the senior executive jobs. So 38 years, same company, never worked anywhere else.
You know, if you're just joining us, my guest, attorney Scott Huras and Doc Weed, and this is a really amazing story. It's not a story; it's reality, and I couldn't wait to get them both in the studio. So, Scott, you made your way through, you know, the minefield as an attorney. Started chief cook and bottle washer.
That's right.
And so you became a success.
Yes, I was a success.
And what people would call a success.
Right.
And so in this society, if you're join it with the right law firm and you become a success, riches will come your way.
That is true. And they did.
So as you started accumulating things, I was kind of reading the story. Let's talk about the first bonus you received and how that worked out.
You know, and I don't want this to sound wrong because I'm very grateful for the career that I had and the monies I received. But I do believe they were all out of proportion to how hard I worked and the things that I did for the company. The rank and file at my company would get bonuses in good years. And if you made $40,000 in the best year, you'd get a $4,000 bonus, 10%. Great. And that's how I thought life was until about 15 years before I retired, when I got promoted to the top executive team. And bonus time came. People like me got their $4,000, and they said, Scott, your bonus this year is $60,000.
Wow.
And that is the smallest bonus I ever received in a good year. I got a lot more than that in other years.
Wow. So before we get into the money thing, let's talk about your family, man. Let's talk about your family.
Sure. My wife is in radio. She's a radio manager up in Northeast Wisconsin. We keep our finances independent, second marriage for both of us. I have 2 children. One has some health challenges, and I support her completely. She lives in Minneapolis, where there's better health care than there is in Oshkosh. And the other is very much a success, to use your word. She is a chief manager, a doctor, and a chief manager at San Francisco General Hospital. So I've set aside money for the challenged daughter, so that in a trust, so she'll be taken care of when I pass. And my successful doctor daughter, she'll get a nice inheritance, but at some point people get too much. And so I just think it's a good idea to take a good chunk of my estate and put it to people who really need it.
So that's where we're going with this story. And so you just heard Attorney Huras. Yep.
Yeah, you got
it. Mention that he's giving away a lot of the money that he's worked hard to accumulate, and you don't hear it much. You've got a challenge you want to make on the air.
Absolutely.
And so I'm excited to have you in the studio. Attorney Scott Huras and my good friend Doc Weed, the one and only Doc Weed, on the Earl Ingram Show, 855-752-4842. We're going to take calls after we complete our discussion.
From Kentar East to yonder move, the western desert lives and breathes in 45 degrees. The time has come to say fair's fair, to pay the rent, to pay our share. The time has come. A fact's a fact. It belongs to them. Let's give it back.
it's cold and I'm nowhere to sleep. Is there somewhere you can tell me? He walks on, doesn't look back. He pretends he can't hear her. Starts to whistle as he crosses the street. Seems embarrassed to be there. Oh, think twice, 'cause it's another day for you and me in paradise. Oh, think twice, 'cause it's another day for you.
All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Text us at that same number. Cardi's an absolutely perfect song for what we're talking about. So congratulations. Again, my guest, attorney Scott Huras, and his good friend Doc Weed, my good friend Doc Weed. And we're talking about, what I think is just a great story. And so, Scott, you accumulated this wealth, and here you are up until a few years ago. What made you all of a sudden decide that you kind of wanted to give away
Earl,
all of this wealth you had
it's
amassed?
one of the reasons that I feel it's a privilege to be on your show today, because maybe I can inspire somebody else. But the kind of thing that started all this, I was visiting my daughter in Minneapolis, leaving a bar in downtown. I go to bars.
Yeah.
And in the doorway, cold night, doorway next to the bar, this is a week after the election. And I was mentally fuzzy as to what are we going to do as a country. And there was a lady curled up in a black puffy coat, sleeping in the doorway. And I
in Minnesota in the winter.
Yeah, it was below freezing.
Right.
And so I looked at her. I put a $5 bill on her coat. She was sleeping. And as I walked away, the light bulb went on, and I went, "This is how I can fight back and contribute." And it didn't. Literally took me a minute to realize I need to give a part of what I made back to people who need it most.
So let me ask you, are you a person who's spent a lot of time in church? Were you raised? Is there a spiritual connection to what happened with you? I mean,
not really, Earl. I was raised a Catholic.
So not organized. You're not in an organized religion.
No. But I've always been a people person. I've chaired the boards of a couple nonprofits, including Legal Services of Northeast Wisconsin, for 9 years. So
there's a need in people
absolutely.
who are struggling and hurting.
Right. Yeah, no question about it.
But could I just say something, Earl?
Go ahead, Doug.
I was raised in the church, okay, so I have a spiritual connection. And I really believe that what you put out into the universe comes back. And there's something that caused me and Scott to get together.
After all those years.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I believe in the Zen River.
Yeah.
So Scott, you saw this poor soul. Something clicked in you
Correct.
At that point in time.
Yep.
Because I'm sure you've seen people
absolutely
many times before.
Right. Go out to California, where my other daughter lives, and people
they're
living
everywhere.
in tents in the streets, right?
Yeah.
And her hospital's in the Mission District. So yeah.
So what was it, do you think, that at this point in time in your life, and this poor soul, in that time, because I mean you've seen poor souls before,
Sure.
but what would you say was happening with you? Clearly you're in Minnesota, you're spending time with your daughter, and anybody who knows, who has loved ones who are infirmed, there's a consciousness that we have that I think maybe others may, I'm not sure, but
Absolutely.
others may not have, because someone you really love, a part of you, is struggling. And so the timing.
The timing, I mean, certainly I've been the presence because my daughter has no relationship with her mother her entire adult life. So, yeah, I know what that's like, Earl, to take care of somebody who needs my help. And I
Right.
think it's my primary job in life is
Right.
to help my kids out. But I can't say that that had anything to do with the inspiration or epiphany, if you call it. It was more, and this is what's so great about this, the way I was feeling so muddled after the election. What do I do? What do I do? This is going to be a nightmare. And I saw her, the light bulb went on, and I thought, you know what? I've got my challenged daughter taken care of. My other daughter is doing very well, and I can start giving away a big chunk of my accumulated wealth to people in need.
So the thought of it hadn't come across your mind until that point.
Not at all. And that's the thing. Had that not happened, I probably would have kept living, hopefully another 10, 20, 30 years. And when I died, I might have gone, oh my God, what have I done?
So,
Right.
so we're going to pick this up on the other side. Again, my guest is attorney Scott Huras and Doc Weed. And this is a very compelling story. Make sure you keep listening. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show.
We have a new purpose.
It's another day for you. You and me in paradise. Think about it. She calls out to the man on the street. He can see she's been crying. She's got blisters on the soles of her feet. She can't walk, but she's trying. Oh, think twice, 'cause it's another day for you and me in paradise. Oh, think twice, it's just another day for you. You and me in paradise. Just think about it.
So the answer to is
Oh no, is there nothing more anybody can do? Oh no, there must be something you can say. You can tell from the lines on her face. You can see that she's been there. Probably been moved on from every place. 'Cause she didn't fit in there. Oh, think twice. 'Cause it's another day for you and me in paradise. Oh, think twice. It's just another day for you. You and me in paradise. Just think about it. Think about
desire for higher high. No place for beginners.
All right. And welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. Text us at that same number, and I'll tell you, done a lot of great shows over the years, had a lot of great opportunities. You know, you would think that interviewing former President Joe Biden would be my number one interview. It's not. It is today with you, Scott. And I mean that from the depths of my heart, because when you see people who connect with other human beings, that's what's missing in our society.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what's missing in this world, man. Yep. A connection to people you don't know. And I've never been able to understand why human beings don't connect with other human beings, man. Right? Oh, I can't connect with him. I'm a Christian, he's a Muslim. I'm an American, and those are Iranians, man. Hey, man, what is that foolishness, man? It is something that keeps our nations divided, and it doesn't give us an opportunity, man, to live our lives in the best manner that he who created us designed us to be. And so, man, anyway, so Scott, and my good friend, Doc Weed is here. Our good friend, Doc Weed is here as well. So Scott, you saw this, and for people who are just joining us, you made a decision at that point in time with this poor woman. You gave her $5. She's sleeping on the sidewalk in a doorway. Yeah. In a doorway. Mm-hmm. You know, a society that has shelter, man. We're not short of shelters in our nation, right? Why should people be sleeping under bridges and military veterans and eating out of garbage cans in the wealthiest nation on earth? Doesn't make any sense. So, Scott, you made a decision at that point to kind of give away your wealth. Tell us about that.
Well, here's kind of what I did then. I hadn't met you, Earl, but I knew Doc was your friend.
Right.
And I had decided I'm going to start giving substantial amounts to homeless shelters every year for the rest of my life. And that was like a 1-minute decision. But I needed to know, if you go into the yellow pages or go online, you got a lot of choices. Yeah. So I asked my friend Doc to ask Earl if he had any recommendations. And Earl made a recommendation at a shelter that exists 4 blocks from where I lived for a year. And that was a really good year for me. And I returned to that neighborhood for the first time, met Earl. It's Sister McCannon Brown's sanctuary on 24th and Center. Yep. And I lived on 26th and Meineke. And a couple of things. That operation was so impressive. She's got 200 volunteers. It's only a daytime sanctuary, but they are renovating a furniture warehouse. Shelter. Yeah, across the street. I
call it a bum shelter.
And they got a big project going, and everybody was so smiling and happy and helping out. And it was just super impressive to me. So I knew I was doing the right thing. And Earl was kind of our host, leading us around. And I said, can I sit down with the sister for 5 minutes?
So before you get any further, so here we are. So kind of taking Scott, McCannon Brown is this just wonderful sister, literally. And her whole life has been dedicated to serving the underserved. And so she created a homeless shelter before, and it was kind of taken away from her. But we have a spiritual connection, McCannon Brown and myself. And I've always, whenever she calls me, I'm there. And so when Doc mentioned this to me, I'm like, okay, all right, he's got some guy. Okay, we'll go over. Guy's going to
Yeah.
donate a couple $100. And okay, but that didn't matter. It was just the fact that somebody was willing to do that.
Right.
Had no idea of what it was going to be, Scott. And then we're walking around and you're seeing this, and it's a machine, a well-oiled
Yes.
machine. People who come in from outside of the city. Look, this is one of the most impoverished neighborhoods in the entire state of Wisconsin. And it's a segregated
Yes.
community. When you walked in there, most of the people who were there helping and working weren't Black.
That's true.
Right?
Right.
There are people who are afraid to come into our city.
But Black
Many-
and white, they all had one thing in common. They were all cheerful and smiling.
All cheerful and smiling because they were doing what? Serving.
Yep.
Yes.
They were making a difference in the lives of marginalized people that people look at and walk over, and they don't matter because their clothes aren't clean, right?
Right.
They they smell, they don't, they're not working, but many of them are mentally
Yes.
impacted and affected. But without McCann Brown, those people don't even get any support or any help.
No.
Here she's been able to build that and from scratch. And it just shows just how powerful one person and their spirit can be. So we're going through this, and all of a sudden Scott said, okay, I've seen enough. I'm like, man, come on, man. You haven't seen much of anything. Okay,
But
I've seen enough.
Doc had to go to work.
I know. So Scott says, I remember like yesterday, Scott says, all right, can we go to an office somewhere? Okay. All right. So, yeah, okay. All right. So we're sitting down, we're talking. Scott pulls out his checkbook. So you got an ink pen? I saw you remember it all, man. Hey, got an ink pen? I'm like, okay, let's get an ink pen. So we go over here. We go in the office. He writes out a check.
For
Are you ready for this?
$30,000.
$30,000. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, Earl almost fell out of his chair.
Whoa, man. 30,000. You didn't look like a guy who was going to write out a check. I didn't see a Bentley outside, right? I didn't see you, with diamonds.
You saw my 6-year-old Ford.
And so he wrote this check for $30,000. And McCann Brown, bless her heart and her soul, I saw her trembling. And man, all I could do was feel the spirit in that room. You brought that. And then you followed it up. You said these words, in perpetuity.
Correct.
So for people who don't know what that word means, there was a time when I didn't know what perpetuity meant. But it meant for as long as I'm around. Every year.
Yep.
And then you didn't finish there. You went, let's talk a little bit about the other things.
All right. From there, I live in Oshkosh, and I went to the, what I consider to be the best shelter in Oshkosh. It's called Day by Day, and I made a significant contribution there. And then my stepdaughter, Sydney, worked for United Way of Milwaukee at the time, and I asked her, and she suggested the guest house, which is at 13th and Juneau.
Yeah.
I might be wrong on that. And so I went there, sat down with the people running it. They made an hour out of their time to show me. They didn't know what I was going to do. And I wrote another big check. And, my plan is every year for the rest of my life, I'll be taking a part of my estate and giving it to places like that to the people who need the most.
That's what's up.
So one of the reasons why you wanted to come on, and I've been trying to get you on. We've been trying to make this connection
Yeah.
for a long time. I'm just happy that it happened today You wanted to challenge others. You aren't the only successful guy
Right.
That is so true.
who has been successful in your life. You wanted to challenge others to do the same thing. Now's the time.
Yeah. People like me, very fortunate, but it's almost a universal truism in not Wisconsin, but the country, that the top executives are getting more and more of the pie. And, if I hadn't seen that lady in the doorway sleeping, and if I hadn't been frustrated by the election, I might have lived the rest of my life and not done any of this. But it was like something snapped at that time, and I knew I needed to help. So that's kind of my pledge. And I know there are literally hundreds and thousands of people in the state of Wisconsin who also reach that top executive level. And just my question to you is, when you're lying on your deathbed, how are you going to feel if you've got millions of dollars, let's say, and they're just going to your kids, which could spoil them or whatever? You only live once. You can't take it with you. Take a part of that and help people who really need it, particularly in this particular time.
Yep.
Scott, revelation. You mean we're all going to die?
Well, I'm immortal, but I think you guys are going.
So, and you can't, like I said before, man, there are no pockets on the caskets.
No.
And so the fact that you want to challenge others is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
And thank you for the opportunity, because one person alone can only yell into the wilderness. This way I can reach some more people.
Oh, absolutely. Let's do this. Let's go to the phone lines quickly. Hey, Rocky, man, you're up. You say what?
I say, hey guys, this is wonderful. I like your style, man. I'm proud to be talking to you guys. It feels good. Sharing is caring. That's what you're doing. Survival first. We all need to eat to survive. You're putting it out there. And I agree with what you were saying about mental health. If you think you got a problem, go see somebody. My son pointed out to me that he had a problem, and it was a simple thing to solve. And he saw a doctor, and he said, "You probably got the same one. It runs,
in the family, right?
It can." So, you think you're kind of proud, like, I don't got a problem. He said, well, you can go 10 years without getting stuff done, or you can go get it fixed and be like normal with seeing a doctor and getting a pill. And I got to say, it's changed my life. And, don't be embarrassed to reach out. That's the other thing. So thanks again.
Hey, Rocky, thank you very much for those words. Really appreciate it. 855-752-4842 is the number. You get a chance to talk with who I think is just a wonderful, wonderful human being, Mr. Scott Huras, and that other guy he's hanging out with. I don't understand why he's hanging out with that other guy. But none other than my good friend Doc Weed on the Earl Ingram Show.
My man.
All right.
Shadow box and double cross, get me the change. License to love, insurance to hold. Not on your memory, change into gold. His eyes are like angels, When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's all right with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. A lovely
All right. I wish I had more time. Welcome back to the last few minutes of the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. Attorney Scott Huras is, man, we're gonna stay connected.
Oh, yeah.
And Doc Weed. And let's go to the phone lines. JoJo, you're up next. You say what?
My heart is singing with you folks. What a morning. Everything in divine order. I've kept all of this lifted in prayer for so long. I am gracing 80-some years out of high school, only 65 years. Can you believe it? But anyhow, besides that, this is a great time to be able to return. There's no U-Haul behind the hearse is another one of those interesting sayings. And let's see, we're on the right track to be able to give back. I've often thought that is the answer because we are in a time of, possible depression, but times are changing, and we are here to change for the good. Those who can give, in ways such as the gentleman's doing, selectively, also with discretion and impact, giving the most impact, and for those receiving, many times you get to know your gift and return. So this is a time we need.
Hey, JoJo,
people doing what they can.
I wish I had more
I'll let
time.
you go.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate those kind words.
Yeah, you're going to be calling me, Earl. Okay.
All right, thank you. Connie, you're up next. You say what?
I'm just so happy to hear your voice, Earl. The show is wonderful. I called the other day because I'm 86 and I listen to you every single morning, and they said you weren't going to be on anymore, and I panicked. But this morning, I'm just so happy that I heard your voice. And congratulations to whatever you're doing next, but I hope I hear more of you.
You will. If you listen to Civic Media, you'll be hearing from me. I'm not.
Oh, I hope so.
Well, thank you. And
I hope so, Earl. Yeah.
Well, thank you, and God bless you. Scott.
God bless you, Earl.
Yeah, thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you. Scott, I make an appeal once again to others.
Yeah. If you are a person of a certain age, you had a 401k or you've got an IRA with lots of money in it, and there are thousands of people in Wisconsin over the age of 60 who fit that description, please consider, certainly take care of your loved ones, but how much do you need to take care of your loved ones? And if there is something, a delta left over, doesn't have to be homeless shelters. There are so many areas of need. So please consider doing something now, because when the end is near, it'll be too late.
Doc, you had something you wanted to say, man.
Well, just I've known you forever, and it's just a glorious day to be able to sit here with you and speak, because there's, Scott just said it eloquently, there's such a need out there, and to be able to come on your show, I'm over the moon.
Well, man, Doc, as I said yesterday, they call it a show, but I don't ever look at it as a show.
Yep.
You know me personally.
Yep.
I'm the same guy on the air that I am in public.
Absolutely.
And if it was anything that made it work, is that.
Yep.
And so, I don't relinquish this microphone with a heavy heart. Man, I'm going to go and keep serving. The more time I have away from here, the more work I'm going to be doing. Because I learned a long time ago what makes me happy, right? It's never been money. I've never been a slave to money because I didn't have any as a young boy. But man, we had a great life.
Absolutely.
Right? Without
Absolutely.
things.
Absolutely.
So I don't worship cars. I don't worship homes. I don't worship diamond rings. I don't worship anything that can't love me back. It's always been about people. It'll always be about people. And man, Scott, we got a lot of work to do, man, to get others to kind of see that. And so in the podcast series, I'm gonna make sure to bring you guys on. And we'll take this even further.
Sounds
because
good.
our goal should be, that kids shouldn't be in Milwaukee public schools in buildings that we know are laden with lead. And we say we can't do anything about it. After we spent $100 million in a race for the state Supreme Court seat. One seat, man, one seat, $100 million. And we say we can't do something about the babies in the schools.
Well, as humans, we can't get along. That's why we got to have so much money put towards the defense department, because there's wars.
Well,
continual.
Well, guys, I got to leave it there.
Okay.
Thank all of you.
Thank very
you
much,
from
Earl.
the depths of my heart who've taken the time out to listen to the Earl Ingram Show. I won't be going too far, but there'll be a new chapter, and I'll welcome you guys into it. You've been tuned into the Earl Ingram Show. See you later. All right.
If I have faith, you need to borrow, for no one can feel those of your needs that you won't let show. You just call on me, brother.